find your seat.
They don't want to hear us.
That would be a next teacher, obviously. All right. Are we good with the mic education? All right, very good. Welcome tonight to our District 7 Grants Pass School Board meeting. We welcome all those in attendance. We're happy to be back together again. Welcome to the board and our principals and teachers who are here joining us this evening. We'd like to call our meeting to order, and our first item is to stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you'd join with me. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So on our agenda tonight, 2.0, communications and presentations. Do we have any written communications, Superintendent Kolb?
No written communications at this time.
Thank you. We would remind the audience and those who are joining us on Zoom, if there are any, that if you wish to speak to a specific action or discussion item, that you utilize one of the blue cards or put your question in the chat, and that will be monitored, and we will call on you as we come to those items on the agenda. Item 2.3, our financial report.
So items 2.3, 2.4, and 2.5 are just communications to the board.
Any questions from the board on those items? We do have Judy Ahrens who would like to speak to 2.5. Judy, 2.5. It is now 2.5. We would just remind you, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, great. And thank you, board members, and thank you so very, very much. I kind of represent the community in saying thank you for getting the meetings back to where the public can physically come here and see your smiling, well, I can't see your smiling faces right now, but hopefully, oh, there we go, one, and present our concerns or our just comments regarding what's on the agenda. So tonight, I would like to just approach, not that familiar with what you're going to report, but on 2.5, it talks about enrollment report. And I know the concern around the nation and in the county and what has been concerned about the enrollment, because the kids being out of school for the past 9 months or this past year, I know it's probably a struggle to find out how we're going to get kids back in school. And I have some suggestions, because we know you probably have some ideas yourself, but I know if we can just get back, the kids have to learn the basics, and we can get back to just the reading and the writing and their multiplication tables and how to do cursive writing and know their history and make sure we have, legit history, because there's a lot being said about the 1619 project. So to get kids back into school, we want to make history interesting, and we have some history buffs out here in the audience. I know one here right now, Larry West, and boy, you should have him in your classroom speaking, because he's awesome, knowing the history of so many things in our country. And I also would like to say that regarding enrollment, the kids like to, I think it would be important, because we live in basically a very patriotic community, super patriotic. A lot of veterans, and Veterans Day is coming up, incidentally, and I'll be interested to see what the classes are all going to do for Veterans Day. I would like to just say if we could get back to celebrating. You said the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. I think I'd mentioned it once before, that I'm so impressed, and I think it's a real good role model you set, and for teachers and parents out here. And I know the state requires 1 day a week to say the Pledge of Allegiance. But wouldn't it be neat if we had the Pledge of Allegiance said as a bell rings in every class in the district, to have them say the Pledge of Allegiance every day? Here's an idea too, which would be really enthusiastic for the kids. Knowing our national anthem. I know adults who don't even know the first stanza to the national anthem. So knowing our national anthem, I've seen other countries where they just belt it out. They just love their country, and they show it by knowing and memorizing their national anthem.
Judy, you have 30 seconds.
Okay, thank you. So I think that would be a real good idea too, if the goal could be for our classes to have the national anthem, have the Pledge of Allegiance said every day, and have good, that's uplifting, and that represents our country, and it's a good role model for this community to say that kids are just very patriotic. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. All right, we'll go to item 3.0 on our agenda, our consent agenda. 3.1 is approval of our November 9th, 2021 board agenda. Well, why don't we take that as a motion first?
Generally, we approve the consent agenda.
Well, you're going to make a motion that we add something to our agenda, are you not? Okay, so why don't we do that? Thank you.
Chair Nelson, I would move that we add an agenda item 4.5 for urban campground and that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second on that? Any discussion by the board? Gary? Or I'm sorry, Brian?
Yeah, thank you. I was just wondering if staff had a report prepared for that since it's under reports, or if that's just going to be a discussion item.
So it's going to be a discussion item for the board. I put 4.5 just because I couldn't figure out a way to put a number between 4.0 and 5.0 that wasn't part of 4.0.
Very good.
Any further comments or questions or concerns from the board? We're adding 4.5 on our agenda to discuss the urban campground. It has been proposed by the Grants Pass City Council. Its location, I believe, in specific. Tanya, can we have a roll call vote for that item, please?
Board Chair Nelson,
Yes?
Member Richardson,
Yes.
Member Brownell,
Yes?
Member Neville,
Yes.
Member Desagrange,
Yes.
Member Wilkins. Yes. Member Coleman.
Okay, thank you. We will add that onto our agenda. And since the motion included the rest of the consent agenda, we'll accept all of that in one motion. Thank you, Gary. We'll go to 4.0 reports. 4.1 is our principals report. So GP Flex, North and South Middle School. Who do we have going first this evening? North. Thank you, Principal Blanchard.
You bet. Thank you for the opportunity tonight. First thing I'd like to do is thank both the board and Sherry for all the work at North Middle School. We have an HVAC system in place now for both our B and C buildings, and for some of our teachers, we have some 30-year vets who are very appreciative of the work. There's still some work to be done there to calibrate and whatnot, but we're super excited about that. We also have 6 new huge tents that cover our seated area outside, our picnic tables, and that's been a lifesaver for our students who just want an opportunity to sit down and not necessarily participate in all the other activities that are going on. But you can see what has happened the last couple of days with the rain, and so they're very appreciative of that, and so are we. So thank you all for that. A little update on robotics. Unfortunately, we have a number of teams who are really progressing well, and we're excited about the regional tournament that no longer will be happening for a number of reasons, primarily because of COVID. But we're working really hard to produce our own local tournament, possibly including GP Flex, and so we're very excited about that. We have our annual, although we did have to miss out last year on our Shakespeare trip. This year, our kids are going over to see A Christmas Carol, and that will be on December 15th. Lots of protocols to work through, but we're super excited to bring that back. I know a number of you like to watch our music concerts, so I'm going to provide a couple dates for you if you're interested. Our band and strings are both going to be performing December 13th. That's a Monday. In the PAC, we'll provide the hours at a later time. We need a little bit of time to take one group down and get the other ready to go. And then our new choir instructor, Sean McKee, who splits his time between North and South, will have the North concert at North Middle School in our gym on Thursday, December 16th. A lot of sports going on right now. Athletics, we had a successful volleyball, cross country, and football season. I know Robert will share some successes with the South group. The 8th grade volleyball girls from North were triumphant in the game at the high school. More importantly than who wins, it's their last opportunity to compete against each other, and then they become teammates. And that's a nice transition and a good way for them to end their season. I want to speak just a little bit about our cross-country season. We have an amazing coach, Sarah Shriver, who has done some wonderful things with the program. We had district champions at North for both the boys and the girls, and neither one of them were 8th graders. Lucy Atondo is a 7th grade student for us, and she won the district championship for girls and set a school record for the 7th grade. And then Zane Hill is a 6th grader who won the district championship, which is amazing. And ironically, he finished second many times this year to his teammate, and then he edged him out in the district championship. So we're super excited and proud to have those kids attending and competing the way that they do. North is, right now, our teachers are working through our Student of the Month, which we call our North Stars, and it's outstandingly organized, is the one that will be recognized shortly, so we'll pick 2 students from each grade level. Our library had a pumpkin decorating contest, and so a lot of it with paint. Some had brought in carved pumpkins, but we were excited to see the number of kids participating in that and awarded first place prizes to each of the 3 grade levels. Our leadership sponsored a door decorating contest, and so the theme was Fall Harvest or Halloween. We had 100% participation by the teachers, which was amazing. And then leadership also came in and decorated all the administrator, counselor doors, and so it was really a neat thing. In a challenging year, it was fun to see the participation there. Both schools, North and South, started this discovery program today that focuses on some kids who have really struggled to reacclimate to school, lacking some social emotional skills. And so that started today, a 6th grade group and then a combined 7th and 8th grade group. And so we're excited to see where that goes. And I think some of you saw coming in, tonight's the first night of virtual conferences for all 3 of the secondary schools. And so you know, there will be some bumps along the way, but I'll tell you that the number of people who signed up have far exceeded any of the conference nights that we have ever had in my 6 years at North. And so while there will be some bumps, we're excited about how many people chose to participate, and we think it's the ease of being able to do so while you're sitting at home, especially when you have kids that participate in multiple schools. So thanks for the opportunity. Wanted to share a few of those things, and I'm going to turn it over to Robert Lingo at South.
All right, thank you, Tommy. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to share some of the highlights and good news coming out of South Middle School tonight. I wanted to start by echoing Mr. Blanchard's thank you to the board and the district office for what's been done to help our school with the HVAC as well. It's sometimes too hot right now as we're continuing to figure out the thermostats and stuff, but from what I understand in the past, South was pretty chilly in the winter, so I think the teachers are appreciating the other end of trying to get the classrooms cooled down a little bit now that we've got a lot of hot air blasting in for us in the wintertime. So thank you for that, and the tents that have helped keep our students dry at recess the last couple rainy days when they've been out at lunch. It's made a big difference for us. We had a lot of turnover at South this last year, staffing wise, and so I wanted to throw out a thank you to our new office staff. All 3 of our front office ladies are brand new this year, and they've done an amazing job coming up to speed, trying to learn and just be patient with that process. So they've been amazing, and we appreciate the work they're doing. We did have the start of the second quarter this week, and like Tommy said, we had an outstanding turnout for conferences. Just about every teacher, when they send out the conference invites, they're full. They don't have any openings. So with that's brought the frustration for some parents that they weren't able to sign up. So I think that's actually a good problem. We're working through how to communicate and have more people involved than we've ever had before. So that's been a success. We have a very active PTSA at South. We had a street cleanup this last weekend with about 30 students that came and walked West Harbeck and in our school grounds and picked up trash and just tried to clean up the area in general. So that was exciting participation. Fall sports wrapped up. We had 135 students participate, which is down a little bit, but not too far from pre-COVID years. So that was exciting to have that level of participation. While North had the upper hand in the volleyball game this last week, South had a couple of last-minute victories in both 7th and 8th grade football, kind of the last play of the game in each game. South was able to pull it out. So we're excited about that, and also had a very successful powder puff evening. We thought North was going to win it on the last play of the game, but they came up just a little short. So we had some good success on the gridiron this fall. We had Spirits Week this last week. What's been kind of cool this last month or so is it's starting to feel like normal school. Spirit Week, PTSA was on campus handing out popcorn for the first time in a long time. So we're starting to see some of those normal school activities starting to return. It's starting to feel a little bit more like school before the shutdown a year ago. I did want to leave you with a few comments from our staff meeting a couple weeks ago. Staff shared some of the things that they're most proud of over the first month and a half of school starting up. And so I just wanted to share a few of their comments with you tonight. Choir kids are singing with more volume. So that's from our new choir teacher, Mr. McKee. I'm proud of the establishment of the new media arts classes. We have a new media arts teacher with lots of new electives in her area. So that's been going well. Music in person again. That was from our band teacher. Creating a positive classroom for all kids and having them making friends again. I'm most proud of the enthusiasm middle schoolers are having for Spanish. So another new elective this year that we're proud of and have high enrollment in. As a staff, we have endured some of the most challenging situations. I'm proud of us as a staff, our ability to adapt, shift, and work harder than ever. From one of our English teachers, all the movement during the 72-minute periods that my students have been doing, moving and writing, moving and talking, moving and listening. The amazing improvement from all the kids on the cross-country team. Started rotations in one of our math classes, so different groups during the 72-minute period, and the kids are doing well and enjoying that. And I'm proud of my students' desire and ability to jump into rigorous curriculum and not only engage, but strive to follow my examples and rubrics and learn at deeper levels. So a lot of good stuff going on at South and a lot of things that we're proud of. Thank you. And next is Ms. Savage.
Good evening. I get to see you in person, and that's pretty exciting. I think anytime I've spoken to you, it's been through someone else or via Zoom. So I'm happy to be here, and I appreciate you guys wanting to hear what's happening at GP Flex. I provided some visuals because I solicited information from our families that I will be providing to you through most of this. And one of the things I asked them about is to provide me with pictures of their students' at-home learning space. And one of the things that I came to learn is that not all of our students are learning at home. And we have a couple students who are very active and involved in various types of competition. And you'll see up there, even though it's not as big as I'd like for it to be, a picture of a young man on a golf course. And that's what his mom submitted to us as his learning space, because really, he's attending school in airports and hotels and on the road while he is going to golf tournaments and kind of honing his skills and getting to spend time with family. There were a couple extra pictures of them on a fishing boat, and he had a very nice fish that he seemed to have landed, and yet still completed his schoolwork. And so he got to participate in those things with his family while learning from home. And then there's also a couple pictures there of different learning spaces that are either really highly organized or very eclectic and creative or relaxed. And so they shared that with us. And then a couple of our students are in elementary school together, and not only do they do their own schoolwork, but they enjoy doing each other's science experiments. And so they get to do that at home together while learning through GP Flex. So, Mr. Bloomquist, next one, please. So our current stats, our enrollment is 292 students currently in GP Flex. And our current projects include diversifying our curriculum, trying to explore more options for advanced courses, looking into more independent learning curriculum for families, and then also streamlining our attendance and progress tracking methods. Those are things that we're going to focus on moving forward in the near future. And these next two items you actually have in your board packet. I sent out a 6-week parent feedback survey to families, and I wanted to solicit their creative and problem-solving solutions through their experience, because I don't know what their experience is like in their homes. And if we're going to move forward and improve, I want to get their feedback. And they gave me a lot of really great information. The first pie chart, which I know is really small, is just representative of the different reasons why families enrolled in GP Flex. And then the other one is a representation of how well GP Flex is meeting their needs or their expectations. And although you don't see the numbers up there, the middle bar is representative. I'm experiencing about what I expected to experience. And then the two taller bars to the side of it are demonstrating that we are exceeding or going above their expectations. And then, of course, at the other end are those who expected something different or expected more than what we've been able to provide. There are other pieces of information in there for you, but I only included those two from the survey. Below that, I also wanted to include some of the parent statements, because I did ask, if I were to share something with the board, what would you like for me to share? And they provided comments. And in the slides, I did try to highlight some of the words that are characteristic of what we want GP Flex to be. And I included words like options. One mother shared that the bond with her son is becoming stronger because they get to do their work together and she gets to support him at home, and they can attend his various doctor's appointments at a time that works for them instead of having to rush home, which makes things calmer for them at home, which of course is one of the goals, is providing more calm at home for families. And so I included some more of those in your packet as well. And then on our last slide, I just wanted to give you, a parent sent me a video, or actually sent a teacher to send to me, a video of them doing PE at home. And I really wanted to be able to show you the video, because you hear dad narrating through the whole video of what his son is doing, about how he needs to run real fast from the snake that he woke up when he stepped on a branch, and how he needs to make sure to tiptoe by or to take a big leap. And you could tell that the dad was really enjoying it, and so is the son. He stopped and gave a thumbs up to the camera at one point. And so I really wanted to show you the whole video, but that would, of course, take more time than what we have. But those are the kinds of things that are happening with our students as they learn at home through GP Flex. In addition to that, you'll see a flyer up there. I asked for people to apply for and volunteer to be in our first student advisory council. And there were 2 brave young women that decided to do that. And they took on the task of putting together GP Flex's first ever fall-themed poetry contest. And so that's a flyer that they created. Sophomore Michaela Meadows, she joined us, and junior Rayella Brace have taken on this initial role of being a part of our first student advisory council. And in the future, they want to be able to help put together some in-person and virtual social opportunities for our K through 12 GP Flex students. And so I'm excited to work with them to put together those items. More recently, we had an accomplishment in GP Flex that I was very pleased to find out about. ODE did an extensive eligibility interview with us regarding high school success. And then from there, they provide us their feedback and findings as to whether or not we have met the requirements outlined by the high school success. And we found out yesterday that Director Evans received an email from ODE telling us that we did meet in every category during that eligibility interview for high school success plans. Coming up on November 18th, ODE will be visiting us again, only we're going to provide for them a virtual class and school tour. And so we will meet with them via Zoom. I have parents from that 6-week survey that said they would be interested in sitting on a parent panel to give feedback and to be interviewed, and we'll be touring some of our virtual classrooms with members from the Teaching and Learning office at the ODE. So that's what we've got going on. That's what's happening in the future. I can go on and on forever about all the other things, but those were the ones that I wanted to highlight. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
I'll say as a GP Flex parent, I am incredibly pleased with the support that's been given and offered to the students. So thank you.
All right, well, thank you. Excellent reports. We appreciate that. We appreciate all that you're doing for our students. So we'll go on to 4.2, our SIA annual report. Director Evans, thank you.
Hello. Get the mask caught off my ear there. Okay. In the fall of 2019, we started our work with House Bill 2347, or as you well know it, Student Success Act. Part of the law requires an annual update to the board and the public in terms of how the dollars were spent. So in your board packet is that information. Just to remind you, the purpose of the student investment account is two things. First and foremost, student mental health and social emotional needs. And second is to increase the academic achievement of our most at-risk populations, which when we reviewed the data for us in District 7, that is special ed, our homeless population, and our Hispanic EL students. So the activities and work that we did really target those groups. In the fall of 2019, we started with our community engagement involving our students, our parents, and our staff in terms of how we should invest the dollars. We had small work groups that prioritized how to use the dollars. At the time, we thought we were getting almost $5 million. And then COVID happened, and everything changed. We ended up only getting 1.5 million and had to do some work. So in this annual report, you'll see there are 4 basic questions they've asked us. What was the impact of the budget reduction going from the 5 million to the 1.5? What were the barriers to implementing our strategies during the 2021 school year, which we all know what those barriers were? How we engaged our community, which was difficult to do, but we did a number of engagement sessions last year. And then what guided our prioritization of the activities that actually got funded. So those narrative responses are in your board packet. Also in the board packet is the actual budget, where things were spent, and a brief summary of what each thing was. These are required to be presented to you as a board and then to be posted on the district website. So you'll be able to go to the About Us tab on the district website and see more information about the Student Success Act and how our investments have helped students in District 7. Any questions?
Debbie, turn your mic on.
So I didn't get my calculator out, but it doesn't look like the numbers quite add up to the bottom line at the bottom there.
I will have to look through that again. Sherry and I worked on this together, and then we did some editing for the board packet so we could fit it on one piece of paper. Our balance is 1.577 is what we spent in that year. So we'll go through and correct that and make sure that the updated version is on the webpage.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you very much, Director Evans. We appreciate your time. 4.3, our holiday card contest. We're excited to hear the winners.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. So last year when we were all in distance learning, we were trying to come up with a way we could kind of bring our school community together, even though we were all apart. And so we started the holiday card contest. We had a great turnout among our K through 12 students and had such wonderful responses from both students, staff, and our community that we said, okay, even though we're not in distance learning, this may need to be an annual tradition. And so we brought the holiday card contest back for a second year. We again opened up the voting to the public for the People's Choice Awards, and we also had district level voting, which of course you guys were all a part of, as well as some of our print shop designers and some district level staff. Last year, we had 500 community members participate. This year, we had 1,000. So it was just awesome to see all of the votes coming in and people being excited about student art. So we did announce the winners on our website and social media, but I want to recognize them here. We did invite them via Zoom. I know we have at least one student artist here in attendance. And so if we can just scroll down to the first card design, we had a perfect tie between our K1 at the district level. We had Phoebe O in kindergarten at GP Flex. This was her design. And our tie was with a first grader. You can continue scrolling down. At Highland, this is Chloe E's design. In our second through third grade category, we had Emma B. At Allendale, she was both the K5 People's Choice Award winner as well as our 2 through 3 winner. In the 4th through 5th grade category, we have Pacey S., a 5th grader at Redwood. In our middle school category, 6th through 8th grade, we have Serenity S. at North Middle School. She was our People's Choice winner for secondary, 6th through 12th grade, as well as our 6th through 8th grade winner. And then at the high school level, we have Mason F., a 12th grader at Grants Pass High School and an art student. So I just want to give a big shout out to all of our amazing student artists. It is not often that we have kindergartners and 12th graders participating in the same activity, so it's just a super fun way to bring our school community together and celebrate art. And then if you just scroll to the very last slide, so this was actually an idea from a few staff members. They said, we should print these so if people want to buy them, they can. And so we do have the cards available for purchase. If you go to our website, there's a link there. Just look for the 2021 Holiday Card Contest icon. The price covers the printing for the cards, as well as supporting some prize packs for the students. They get to have a nice stack of their printed art to send to family or friends, as well as some gift cards. So that is a way that we're able to support our student artists and just celebrate them for their talent. So we just appreciate everybody who participated, and thank you to our school board for being a part of it. Any questions?
Thank you. Excellent job. We're proud of the kids, and thank you for keeping this tradition going. We look forward to seeing who we vote for next year. So,
Me too. Thank you.
all right, 4.4, teacher evaluation flexibility. Director White and Cantola.
Yeah, Director Cantola will be quick because the Energizer Bunny is going to take over here, which is going to be good. So I know that Superintendent Kolb sent the board information on the flexibility option from ODE. We did some research with our staff, with our principals, with what's called the Senate Bill 290 committee, which is really our evaluation committee. It's actually the longest standing intact committee, I think, in the district at this time. And so it's a committee of administrators and teachers that look at our evaluation process. And so they were very much in favor of us applying for the flexibility option. What it didn't do, we still will evaluate thoroughly and completely all probationary teachers, all probationary administrators, but it did take away some of the paperwork requirements that administrators have to do and that teachers have to do. To kick things off, though, one of the things that we did, there are 60 rubric items in the Marshall rubrics that we are supposed to be responsible for. And so with a lot of help from Director White and the principals, we narrowed it down to start the year. Member Neville, Member Brownell, and every member of the board, but I know you guys have talked a lot about the mental health and kids reacclimating and that kind of stuff. So these are the standards in those 60 rubrics that are the most in tune with making sure that we address students' mental health and reacclimating into school. And so we felt it was very important for us to start by looking at those items going into the year. So although the focus is more narrow, although some of the paperwork has gone away, sometimes you look at, well, okay, so then how do you do something better? And so we believe we have something better with our evaluation process this particular year, with a lot of help from Director Linda White. And so I'm going to let her explain what she's been doing with our administrators and what we've been focusing on this year. All right.
Thank you, Danny. It's nice to be here. I am, retired, but I feel like I have just a great privilege to still be able to serve our district and give back in some ways by getting the chance to work with our 19 administrators. And I would just say, there's been a lot said and written about the impact and the toll that COVID has taken on our teachers and on our students. And I would just offer to you that possibly the biggest heroes in the whole system are the ones who are leading our schools and kind of being the shock absorbers for all the stuff that's gone on. Our principals and our school leaders are a very skilled, very resilient bunch of people who are incredible at what they do. And this last year and a half has tested us in terms of our resilience and skill. And so I'm just very happy to the director team and Superintendent Kolb, place some priority on providing extra support to our admin team. Because in this time, more than ever, we all need to support each other and work and learn together. So I am the one who gets to come alongside them and offer encouragement and support, and we work really hard at developing our skills and becoming better. So some ways that we've been doing that are at the retreat, at our administrative retreat, we kicked off the year by looking at the concept of a warm demander leader. And the whole idea of that is a leader who is very relational and very warm and encouraging, but also at the same time is able to provide high levels of accountability and high expectations. And so that's how we started our year off. And our administrators each picked 3 focus areas to work on for the year, one around their sort of leadership style and qualities, one around teacher evaluation and supervision, and another around school culture and some of the tricky or interesting bits of school culture that might need to be addressed. And so I come in alongside our principals and we work on those focus areas that they've identified. And some of those are working on time management and how to be sure that the important things get done. We work on focusing on what's going on in the classroom, because if we can increase the quality of the teaching and learning that's going on in every single classroom in the district by just a little bit every single day, it'll impact all the kids in our district and we'll have amazing long-term results. So getting us focused, thankfully, not so much on COVID, but actually on high levels of learning for all of our kids in the classroom. So we've been working on quality feedback for our teachers, how to have skillful, reflective conversations with our staff. We've been working a lot, and these people are heroes. We've done 202 mini observations and 58 formal observations. We've worked to make sure that all of the feedback that we're giving and the reflective questions that we're asking are skillful and they promote growth and teachers improving their practice. And so as we've invested in our administrators increasing our skill and effectiveness, we just know it's going to reach really every student in our district. Very, very exciting work. I'm very grateful to be part of this team and grateful that the district and board has placed focus on the support and the skill building of our administrative team. Any questions for Director Cantola?
Expertly done. Very good.
We'll give it a shot.
Todd, did you have a question?
Yeah. Question would be, and I looked over some of this prior to hearing some of it just now at home. I'm curious what it means on a bullet point to revert to the regular evaluation process. This is obviously not the regular evaluation process that we're talking about. My question, because I come from a management in the federal sector of employee evaluations, if a teacher, and I get it that most of our teachers excel, but if a teacher does not excel, and let's say they are in the does not meet standards or improvement necessary category, what happens in the interim?
So that doesn't go away. I mean, you're still, if there's an issue, we don't stop addressing the issue. So when they go in and do the observations, if they see, let's say classroom management, that seems to be one of the big ones. So if they see classroom management issues and they really are substandard, we still have the path that we can go on down the improvement path. So typically by November 15th, we would notify human resources that there are issues, and then we would begin meeting, and the process would usually include something like focus goals, where the administrator sets up a system along with the teacher to have some very specific goals around classroom management stuff that they're working on. If that goes well, great. We've met that and we continue. If that doesn't go well, it typically goes to what's called a plan of assistance. And if a plan of assistance is more intense work on those specific items that seem to be deficient, if that doesn't go well, then sometimes that can lead to termination recommendations, those types of things later on in March. But typically, we see improvement and things do turn around. But so that part of the process didn't go away, I guess is the short answer there.
Is that the same process as the regular evaluation?
That would be the same process if deficiencies are found that were in the regular process, yes.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
All right. Danny, you're off the hook. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Agenda item 4.5AB, whatever Gary wanted to name it, our urban campground. So, Gary, would you like to start the discussion?
Sure, but I think probably the easiest way to start is possibly to have Brian, or Member Dean Grange, give us a little bit of an update about the possibility of the urban campground next to our elementary school.
Sure. I was not prepared to do this, but I'm happy to give it a try. So I think a lot of people have heard that the city is considering an urban campground in the southeast section of town, and working with community partners such as All Care and Road Retreat, which is a nonprofit that works in Medford, to facilitate that happening. The process has been a little wonky, I guess you could say. This has been a goal of City Council since the beginning of the year, so this is not something that's coming out of nowhere. But I think when people hear urban campground, I would assume that most people on this meeting and in this room have never, been to an urban campground. So I would assume that the assumption of what that is could vary wildly from person to person. I have toured the urban campground in Medford with the director of Road Retreat who runs the campground. So maybe the first thing to do is just kind of to describe what it is. What it is not anarchy and burn barrels and drug addicts and needles everywhere. And some people probably think that's what it could be. So I want to make sure that I start with that. What it is it is a managed site. So there is 24-hour-a-day staffing, paid staffing on site, 24 hours a day. the people that would be at the urban campground have to go through an application process. So people can't just show up. They have to apply, and they have to be approved to be there. The site, the campground has rules. No drugs, no alcohol, no stealing, no generally unruly behavior. And if that becomes an issue for somebody, then they don't get to be there anymore. Probably one of the most important things, or one of the most important pieces to make it successful is that they have on-site case management. So they have case managers coming on site daily to work with the people that are at the urban campground to help get them out of their position of homelessness. So we're not, some people think that, it's kind of like we're warehousing the homeless, and there's a certain amount of time someone can be there. So they, I think it's maybe 6 months. So after 6 months, if you're not moving up, then you got to make room for somebody else. So there's active case management happening at the site. There's a gate and a fence, and it actually closes at night. So at night, the site is closed and locked, and so there's no entry and exit after hours, and it opens back up in the morning. So there's security for the neighbors at night. Road Retreat is one of the partners that runs sites in Medford and consults on sites in other areas. And they have a track record of success running the sites in Medford and running and consulting sites in other places. And they have experience doing so. Let's see, what else? The Medford Police Chief has voiced support for the activities that have happened in Medford on his watch. He supports the efforts of Road Retreat and their urban campground and their other sites, and has said that it has been more of a help than a detriment to their efforts over there. So,
I have a question.
yes.
Why there? Why was that the choice next to an elementary school?
Well, it's not, the way this is set up is the city is providing a grant to All Care Community Foundation, and it is actually not up to us to site the campground. We are providing them the grant, and then it's their job to basically take care of all the details. So we're just awarding a grant to fund them to find a site and to run the urban campground.
Can you help them find a different one?
Yes, I can try. I think one of the things is that we've been looking for sites all year, and believe it or not, this is not an easy thing to site. There's a lot of factors that play into the location that make it successful. Things, it can't be too far out of town, it can't be right in the middle of town, it has to be on a bus line, it has to be somewhat close, for people to get to, like grocery stores and things like that. So it whittles it down pretty quick as far as the locations that'll actually work for something like this. And we have done a search this year, and we started off with a list of properties all around town. And we reached out to every property owner on that list and didn't get a lot of responses, believe it or not. So we've tried. This isn't like the only one that we've.
I think the obvious concern is it's an elementary school, and I'm glad that they lock the gates at night, but what about during the day when our children are there?
Yes. And just to be clear, I'm just one of 8 counselors, so I am not the figurehead for this whole operation. I'm just the one speaking tonight. So Riverside School, I measured it today, and it's actually 1,000 feet from the site. So it's not, some people, I've seen emails and some people are saying it's right across the street from the school, and It's actually a fifth of a mile from the school, so it's not right there. I understand that it's close. I used to live in that neighborhood, so I know that it's close. Riverside has a closed campus, so, you know, if people are going on school property during school hours that are not supposed to be there, staff are going to call public safety, and public safety are going to address any issues that may arise. I understand that there's a lot of fear out there about this.
Who do we talk to?
Well, you can write the city council. You can call or write to the All Care Community Foundation. And I guess maybe I'll stop there because I'm sure other people want to talk to.
Well, I will just add one thing. I, by happen chance, was down in Medford for a separate meeting. I was meeting up with one of the board members for Rogue Valley Retreat. He invited me to tour their facilities down there. So I was there last week, and I toured both the urban campground and the other sites with him, talked to the employees that they have here, saw the operation that was going on. And I won't speak to the site of where it goes. I don't have any knowledge of that. But I will say that my perceptions of what an urban campground is changed dramatically once I saw it. And my concerns about what that would look like in Grants Pass changed significantly once I took a tour of the operation and saw what was going on. And so I'm not going to comment on the location. Again, I don't even know where they're planning on putting it. But I would encourage individuals within our community to be a little bit more proactive about learning what it is, because once I saw what it was and my perception completely changed from what I had envisioned this being, and I felt more comfortable having something like that in Grants Pass after I saw how it was managed, and more importantly, the benefit that it was providing these people. They tell me that they have a 60% success rate in transitioning a homeless person to a job and housing within 6 months, which is amazing. There is nothing else that I am aware of that has anywhere close to that type of success. So where it's located, that will be up for the city council to decide, but I would certainly encourage individuals, especially on our board and in our community, to visit one of these locations and see what the operation looks like, because it will change your perception of, I think, some of the things that we envision as we think about what that means for our community. So that's all I'll say on that. But if you haven't visited one, I would encourage you to do so and be a little bit more educated on what the process is and what it looks like.
It doesn't look like Riverside Park.
I think that's the whole benefit of it, is it gets our parks back to us. And that's what they're finding in Medford. And that was what I think was so encouraging to me, is there was a location that people wanted to be at. They were willing to work with individuals to change their behavior. And I'm sure it is not 100% successful, but I was impressed with how it was run and how they were doing it. So
I would say that even if the campground itself is well run and secure and stuff, as you say, the issue isn't going to be necessarily there at the campground. It's the proximity to the elementary school, where we have kids that are very vulnerable to adults, and the traffic. I mean, how do these people get to the urban campground? How do they leave the urban campground? You talked about it need to be close to services, so that's probably because they don't have vehicles and things like that, which means they're going to be walking, which is going to put them right there at the elementary school, which understandably raises concern with our constituents. And, you know, there's many laws keeping certain things and activities well away from our schools, and it just, having this pop up next to the elementary school, particularly with, I mean, even if there's a high success rate, there's still a high failure rate as well. And some of those people have activities in their past that are not, they should not be near our elementary school. So I'm just wondering how we can bring that up to the city council as they're considering this matter, and was wondering if the board would consider having the superintendent send a letter to the city council expressing the school district's concern.
Yes.
I was just going to reply to one of Gary's comments. I think everyone in this room knows that we've got a pretty big homeless problem throughout the town. It's concentrated in our parks right now. And the issue you're talking about with them being close to the schools, we already have that. They're already camping at Gilbert Creek Park. They're already camping at Portola Park. They're already there. And they're not supervised. And my daughter goes to North, and she walks through Gilbert Creek Park when she goes to school. So I, as well as anyone else, know about the risks of our youth with, the homeless population. So I don't know that this is making it worse than the current situation. I mean, that situation, we're already there, so.
I would be interested in asking Kirk to write a letter. Or attend, or.
Debbie and then Todd.
So I'm sorry, Cassie, I can't quite hear you when you talk. If you could be closer to the microphone, that would be helpful. I heard that there was a public meeting where information will be given by the city council and comments will be accepted. Do you know the date? Was that tomorrow or a week from tomorrow?
That is a week from tomorrow. The meeting starts at 6 p.m. at the City Council chambers on 5th and A Street.
Thank you.
Or people can also provide comment electronically as well.
Todd?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but this would not take homeless folks out of the existing parks, is what I have understood from my readings. It would be an additional location. Am I mistaken on that?
Yes, in Medford, it is not compulsory. It's a voluntary placement, so individuals can place themselves there. There is a screening and intake process, from what I understood. They do feed them. I think that's a motivation for many of them to be there. That was just the experience that I saw when we were there. But no, it is not compulsory, so the police are not rounding people up and moving them into these camps. They may still live wherever they wish.
Yeah, my understanding is that we still would have homelessness.
Yes.
In all the parks. That would not go away. This is a separate facility for homeless.
Yeah. Medford is using it as a resource, and what they have seen is they have seen a significant decrease in their homelessness throughout the city. It is still there, but they have now been able to concentrate these individuals into the urban campground and some of the other facilities that they have.
This will not magically take all the homeless people out of the parks. I don't want anyone to think that it will, but it certainly will mitigate that issue and reduce it.
You have one individual that has asked to speak to this item. Chase Daggett.
Good evening, Board. Before I begin, I ask the Board if I may be afforded a total of 6 minutes for my comment.
I'm sorry, we're just going to give 3 because that's what we've done for the others, so.
Okay. My name is Jace Daggett. I wish to speak with you in regards to the city's proposed location for an urban campground for the homeless, organized by All Care and managed by an organization called Rogue Retreat. Before I start, I'd like to disclose that I was a District 7 K-12 student, but I also was a homeless adult individual in Grants Pass for 9 months of my adult life back in 2012 through Christmas and into 2013. So please understand that my words are not without empathy and that they are founded with first-hand experience on the subject. Personally, I support All Care and Rogue Retreat with the efforts to establish temporary housing for homeless within Grants Pass. However, I do not agree with the current property being considered for approval for this site. For those unaware, Scott and others, the property is 1750 Southeast N Street. This property is within the 20-mile-an-hour reduced speed limit for Riverside Elementary School's zone. It is a property that is unavoidable in order to enter Riverside, and it is directly across the street from over 200 households in both newly developed homes and apartment complexes. To go into some more information about my past homelessness, I was, as you may consider, a clean and educated homeless individual. I was lucky enough in my adolescence to not establish any vices, so when I became homeless, I was eligible to become a resident at the Gospel Rescue Mission, where they require residents to be drug and alcohol free. During my months at the mission, I got to know my fellow residents and bunkmates, and everyone I spoke to preferred to be there instead of on the street, even though many of them felt that the mission was too structured. Over the months there, I saw plenty of newcomers come and go because they were unable to hold themselves up to the standard that the mission imposes. I spoke with the mission this morning, and they confirmed to me that they have a capacity of 70 residents in the men's shelter, but they currently only have 28. That's 42 vacancies in only the men's shelter. This just so happens to be the same amount of people that All Care wishes to serve within their new urban campground. So if the city and All Care's intent is to house vice-free homeless individuals, I believe it would be fair to ask them to direct them to the Gospel Rescue Mission first. If the individuals are not eligible to reside at the mission, then that is the basis for my concern. Today I had the pleasure of speaking with Liz Adams, Director of Road Retreat. I do want to publicly say that I genuinely am thankful of their organization and what they're doing to help the homeless in Southern Oregon. She was kind enough to answer all the questions I had about the campground in Medford. Honestly, she helped ease me on a couple of concerns I had about the project, but the biggest question I had for her was not given a promising answer. I asked her, if residents leave and imbibe alcohol or take drugs, are they restricted from returning? Her answer was no. If they arrive under the influence, they are allowed to stay and are only ejected on bad behavior. I understand that these people who will choose to continue these activities or not, I understand that these people will choose to continue these activities whether or not they are residents of an urban campground like the one proposed. And that ultimately
Your time is concluded.
May I continue or should I stop?
You can make a final statement if you wish.
Formally, I would like to ask the Education Board to consider advising the City of Grants Pass with two things. First, I ask that you advise the city to not establish an urban campground directly adjacent or across the street from any residential parcels with occupied homes, because no household with school children should need to worry about incurring an increased risk from their immediate neighbors. Second,
Jay's statement, a
Yes.
sentence or two, so thank you.
Final sentence. Second, I ask that you advise the city to not establish an urban campground within at least a quarter mile of a school zone, regardless of whether or not the campground is adjacent to a residential zone, because that is the approximate radius in which students must walk to school. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other comments on that from the board? Would you like to make a motion?
I move that the superintendent communicate via letter the concerns of the board related to the urban campground near Riverside Elementary School.
I'll second.
So it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I would only ask that each board member submit your individual concerns to me so I can ensure you are fully represented in this communication. I will draft that communication, send it to the board for concerns or questions prior to submitting to the city council. Gary, can you repeat the motion?
Not a chance.
To direct the
Essentially, it was to direct the superintendent to send a letter with our concerns to the city council.
All right, any other comments, Debbie?
And our Superintendent Kolb's suggestion's going to be part of that motion. I would prefer to see what that letter's going to be like before my name's attached to it.
I'm sure Kirk, would you be willing to send the letter to the board before it's sent?
Yes, absolutely. I will draft the letter. I will await affirmative, either no comment or please provide me your comments, and I will reach out, as will Tanya, to make sure you follow through on that. I would like those comments to me no later than Monday so I can organize and immediately return those to the board prior to the March 17th meeting.
November. Yes, got it. November.
Thanks.
But we'll give you till March if you want. We'll probably still be talking about it in March. All right. Any other comments? Tanya, can we have a roll call vote then, please?
Board Chair Nelson,
Yes?
Member Richardson,
Yes.
Member Brownell,
Yes?
Member Neville,
Yes.
Member De La Grange,
Abstain.
Member Wilkins,
Yes.
Member Coleman.
Okay, thank you. Agenda item 5.0, board reports and special concerns. 5.1 is our superintendent search. I believe, Tanya, we have 4 companies that have responded to our request for information.
Yes.
We should have that printed and given to the board this evening.
Yes.
Do we know how many others may be submitting something before our next meeting, which is, I believe, in 1 week from tonight?
6 were submitted, 4 have been returned, 1 person, 1 company denied. So I'm
Okay.
waiting on 1, but they have not responded.
Okay. So for the board, we will have those packets for you this evening. I will draft some summary slides, and we can talk about that at our next meeting. So please come prepared and have reviewed those so that we can make some decisions about a search organization to help us. So any other comments on 5.1?
This isn't quite 5.1, but can I?
Absolutely, Debbie. Go ahead.
Point of information. I'm a little bit confused. I know we voted for approval of the amended agenda. Was the approval of the board draft minutes and personnel report included in that motion?
Yes, it was.
Thank you.
Gary was good enough to just include all of that in his motion. So. Any other board reports or special concerns? Brian?
Yeah, I just wanted to take a second to recognize staff for, and I'm probably going to get the name wrong, but the newsletter, the glimpse that went out, is it Grants Pass Glimpse? Is that what?
That's correct.
Okay, yeah, I thought it was really well done. It was very informative, and I think periodically having something like that.
And thank Kristen for that.
Oh yeah, and thank you, Kristen, very much. But yeah, it was great. Thank you.
All right. Not having hearing any other items on that agenda item, we'll go to 6.0, our superintendent's report.
Yeah, I have one brief report to give. We did have a statewide superintendent's meeting earlier today, and I believe the board has been receiving, as I have, concerns regarding a potential mandate for student vaccines. Thus far, what we're aware of is we don't see that being the direction out of ODE right now or the Oregon Health Authority on an emergency basis. That is something that is being discussed in various local control. I believe Ashland School Board has had a conversation, as well as Portland Public Schools. I believe Corvallis School District may even have some local conversations. It is not a direction that I would encourage or support for this community to begin discussing mandated vaccines. It was discussed today that the Oregon Health Authority is having an advisory panel to have the conversation regarding COVID vaccinations to potentially be included with all other school vaccinations in the future. That is about a 6 to 8 month process for them to do that. And if ensuring that everybody is aware that there are current exemptions for personal beliefs for families to not have their students vaccinated with current required vaccinations. So there's always a pathway for families who would choose not to have their children vaccinated. So that is the latest out of Oregon Department of Education. And I just wanted to address that publicly, that is not a position or direction the Grants Pass School District is taking at this time.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to 7.0, our action items. So 7.1, first reading of amended policies and ARs. We have 7.1.1, policy IA, instructional goals. 7.1.2, policy IL, assessment program. 7.1.3, policy IJ, school counseling program. 7.1.4, policy IGBHA, alternative education programs. 7.1.5, policy IGBHAR1, evaluation of alternative programs. 7.1.6, policy IGBHAR2, evaluation of alternative education programs, district summary. 7.1.7, policy IKF, graduation requirements, and 7.1.8, policy IKFB, graduation exercises. So any questions or comments on those policies? Gary?
Yes, actually, I would like to ask if is there some kind of time frame associated with these policy changes that we've been directed by ODE?
For these current proposed policies, there are not specific requirements for updates to meet legal requirements at this time with these. Unless I missed something, Tanya, there wasn't deadlines on these particular policies.
No, I would have to go back and look to see which ones are required, and I can certainly get back to the board and let you know which one of these are required.
HA is required. The others are highly recommended. Organizational required.
But there aren't specific timelines regarding their approval or amendments.
Right, the question's not whether they're required or not, it's just the timeline.
Okay.
Get the update.
No, there's not.
So at this time, what I'd like to do is move that we approve the first reading of 7.1.3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 at this time.
Is there a reason why you don't like 7.1 and 0.2?
Well, I was trying to wait for the discussion part, but yes, actually, 7.1 and 2 are significant enough revisions that I would not like to move them forward on that first reading tonight.
Okay. Anyone else with a thought or comment? Todd?
Yes, on 7.1.5, I was curious why, let me find it first.
Gary, can you repeat the ones that you wanted to omit this evening?
He doesn't want the first. 0.1 and 0.2.
I thought there was one at the end. Okay.
Just for clarification, this is the first reading. Does that imply that we're having a second or a third?
Yes, a second. So we would
Second.
approve a first reading, and then when we would come back and vote for a second and final approval of the action items at our next meeting typically.
So I jotted it down with my pencil. I'm trying to look for it here. Why is it crossed out? The part that says in 7.1.5, are staff members qualified for their position, question mark? I'm questioning why that's crossed out.
So Tricia, I may have you answer that, but for alternative programs, the requirements around certifications has a lot of flexibility. Tricia, I don't know if you have any details in that. I think because of the flexibility for alternative programs regarding teacher certifications and requirements, that it was recommended by OSBA to line that specific item out. Go ahead, Trish.
Process we go through when we get the OSBA updates is to get our current policy and review OSBA policy. Our policies, many of them haven't been updated, a number of these today since 2004, that AR being one of them. When policy IGBHA for alternative ed programs, but that's the required one to update. When I looked at that and looked at the associated ARs, I noticed that we did not update the last time OSBA updated those ARs. There's 2 of them that go with that policy. I had Tanya reach out because I thought maybe we could even delete one of them. And we missed a policy update that OSBA had recommended that be updated. So I brought it forward today to update for this time to match the board policy. Does that make some sense?
Yeah, what you're saying makes sense. I guess my question still is, it implies that there's no qualification needed when I see that crossed out.
I think the question about the word qualified, that doesn't mean qualified to as in the generic definition. It means to be a highly qualified teacher without certain licensure things. So it's not, if that helps. It doesn't mean that they're not qualified to teach in the generic sense of that word. It's about specific licensure required.
And I think I would add in the ensuing ARs that accompany that, the AR2, when evaluating the alternative program, there is a comment or there is a requirement to check a box whether staff meets criteria or does not meet criteria for the alternative programs. So that is addressed when evaluating the program itself, that we're meeting the requirements by the OARs. It's the first item on AR2.
Director Evans, are you able to speak to policy 7.1.1 and 7.1.2 and educate the board a little bit on maybe what changes are being made that are so substantial, or is that something that we're not able to discuss fully this evening?
So policy IA, correct?
Yes.
Sorry, too many papers in front of me.
IA and IL.
Yeah, so IA, the policy update related to IA has to do with the language arts for essential skills. As you know, House Bill 2056 modified the requirements there, and it impacts the instructional goals as well as graduation requirements, those 2 policies. Again, when I got this revised policy, when we haven't revisited this since 2004, and I looked at what OSBA has updated over the last almost 20 years and saw there's some updating language that we needed to have to match what is current in the law and policy. So it's a pretty significant change. I got the input of our director leadership team as well in terms of it matching with what our current practice is, better than what the 2004 policy did. I think I don't know if there's any more questions about IA. The second policy was sorry.
I have a question before we move to the next policy.
Okay.
And it's actually for Gary. For me to not vote on this, can you voice on these policies your specific concerns, or do you have specific concerns at this point?
Yes, on the first 2, I mean, the first one's a complete rewrite, totally. It's striking all the original language and inserting new language, and instead of it being first reading this meeting and done next meeting, I wanted more time to review those 2 policies. So I don't want to move it forward for the first reading. at this meeting.
Okay, but you don't have any specific issues at this time? Other than you want more time to review?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll just tell you on policy IL, that's the one most significantly also about essential skills and the changes there. And again, reviewing some updates that have happened since the language better matches what the law requires, and therefore the recommendation in the board packet. If after you review and you have some thoughts or input that you'd like, please reach out to Kirk and we'll make sure those are reflected next time we bring them forward.
Thank you. We do have one individual who'd like to speak to 7.1, Katie Austin.
Thank you. My name is Katie Austin. I'm a 40-year resident of Grants Pass, a mother, a grandmother, a local small business owner, a certified health coach, a former foster parent, and a CASA, which is a court-appointed special advocate for disadvantaged children in our county. My husband and I are homeowners and tax-paying constituents of District 7. I'm also a retired credentialed teacher, having taught during the 80s and 90s in both city and county schools here, as well as at New Hope. And as a matter of fact, I taught your daughter, Nancy Cliff, back in the 80s. I'm here tonight to comment on agenda item regarding District 7 instructional goals, so it fits right in with what we're talking about. Also, I'd like to springboard for a second off of Superintendent Kolb's comments on mandatory vaccines. I was happy to read that item 8 in the instructional goals in the updated version includes that students will learn how to succeed in our nation as a constitutional republic, which by definition is a nation that has a constitution that limits the government's power via elected officials who are voted in by citizens and entrusted to lead as directed by their counties and country's constitution. Thank you for that. I applaud that. I also wanted to speak specifically tonight to instructional goal number 16, that schools provide a safe educational environment. My husband and I, as well as many other family members and neighbors, parents, etc., that we've spoken to, have been very concerned for a long time about the continued unnecessary mandated masking of children in schools. A plethora of studies by medical professionals, psychologists, and other respected experts now have shown that it is unhealthy and unsafe to mask wear for 6+ hours per day, especially for children. I've written emails to each of you voicing these concerns in the past several months, but I've only ever gotten a reply from Cassie. Thank you, Cassie, for that. Additionally, in light of the recent campaign by various elected governing bodies and individuals, a campaign that's been activated to push experimental EUA COVID-19 vaccines on children as young as 5 now, we are appalled. We want to let you know preemptively that the vast majority of parents and grandparents who voted for you and are living in this community would not ever support a mandate of this shot. A poll or canvassing of neighborhoods would prove this out. I'd also like to comment that exemptions, religious, philosophical, and even medical, have historically been rejected by most school facilities that have tried to mandate vaccines and offer exemptions. So I don't think that's a valid comment. I've prepared
Katie, you have 30 seconds.
Good. I prepared a packet of information here with all the facts and links that will go into detail on the risks and the science. And in case no one here understands that we have a federal vaccine adverse event reporting system called VAERS, and to date, 856,917 severe adverse reactions have been recorded on that federal reporting system, including 17,000 deaths and 11,449 documented cases of myocarditis, which is heart inflammation, mostly in boys, and that includes in children. The good news is that I have also included in your packets a perfect and safe, relatively inexpensive solution to replace unhealthy PPA protocols in our schools. It's a genius solution, and it's on continuous and effective disinfection of indoor spaces endorsed and used by NASA, the Pentagon, hospitals, surgery centers around the nation, some schools, by Boeing and airlines.
Katie, your time has concluded. A final
Thank you.
statement.
Please take the time to read these packets that I've completed for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, so do we have a motion then on action item 7.1? Gary, would you like to make a motion for action item 7.1? Well, I think we were still in the midst of discussion. Why don't you make it again and we'll see what happens.
I move that we approve 7.1.3 through 7.1.8 for their first reading tonight.
Well, I don't know how long it takes to let it die by second, but I don't hear a second. So do we have a motion, a different motion then? Do we have a motion to approve all the action items for first reading?
Member DeLaGrange moves to approve 7.1.1 through 7.1.8 first reading.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Thank you, Debbie. Debbie seconds. Any further discussion? Tanya, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Board Chair Nelson,
Yes?
Member Richardson,
No?
Member Brownell,
Yes?
Member Neville, Member
Yes.
DeLaGrange,
Yes.
Member Wilkins,
Yes.
Member Coleman.
Yes.
Thank you. 7.2, approval to enter into a lease agreement for the purchase of school buses. Any questions or comments on that?
I have one.
Yes, Cassie?
Is this complete, the fleet?
Not quite. We have about 10 more.
Okay.
Todd?
I'm in favor, Sherry, but I was curious, the comparison to a standard, I guess, diesel traditional bus in price.
The prices are very comparable.
Did you want more specifics, Todd?
Is comparable within 10,000, 20,000?
Less than that. I would
Okay.
say that it's within 5,000.
Yeah, that's all I need to know.
Ryan?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but don't we get reimbursement from the state for most or all of the costs related to our school buses?
Over 10 years, yes, they depreciate the cost of the buses over 10.
Okay, so we will completely recoup the cost over 10 years regardless of the price of the bus?
That's correct.
Okay, great. Have you heard anything recently about the cost effectiveness of the electric buses getting more in line with what you were looking for?
I have not had time to do any additional research on the electric buses, so I can do that once I get through audit and several other issues.
I understand. Thank you.
Yep.
Debbie?
So I'm just double checking, this is part of the upgrading or updating our bus fleet to comply with the 2025, have to be other than oil or gas or diesel?
Yes. Yep, that is correct, Debbie.
All right.
And we are on target to have all the buses replaced by 2025.
Thank you.
All right, may we have a motion to approve 7.2?
So moved?
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any further comments or discussion? Hearing none, Tanya, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Board Chair Nelson,
Yes?
Member Richardson,
Yes?
Member Brownell,
Yes.
Member Neville,
Yes.
Member DeLaGrange,
Yes.
Member Wilkins,
Yes.
Member Coleman.
Thank you. Even thank you, Brian, for your begrudging vote. We appreciate that. Someday you'll get your electric bus, though, I promise, and we will get there.
I'm hoping to get more than one.
Maybe two. We'll see how it goes. All right. 8.0, future meeting dates and suggested agenda items. 8.1, we do have a special board meeting next Tuesday, November 16th at 5 p.m., and that is to discuss the companies that have submitted bids to help us in our superintendent search. And then at 6 p.m. through 9, we will have our special board workshop. On November 30th, we'll have another special board meeting, which I believe is the finances. Sherry, is that right? Or the budget? What were we talking about?
It's on facilities and looking at our priorities and how we are going to be using the ESSER funds.
That's right. Thank you. And then the 14th will be our next board meeting after that. So we will now adjourn our regular session. We will open executive session in 5 minutes. After our executive session, we will reconvene here and we will open the doors and turn our Zoom link back on at that time. So thank you. We will adjourn our regular session. Zoom link open yet? Are we? Okay. All right, welcome back. We are going to call our reconvene our regular session, so we'll call our meeting to order. We have one item on our agenda, 11.1, action item arising from executive session. So we'll turn it over to the board. Turn your microphone on.
I move to reverse the board's July 15th, 2021 decision to terminate Katie Meadart's employment as a probationary teacher.
I second.
We have a motion. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Tanya, we'll ask for a roll call vote.
Board Chair Nelson,
No?
Member Richardson,
Yes.
Member Brownell,
No.
Member Neville,
Yes.
Member De La Grange,
No.
Member Wilkins,
Yes.
Member Coleman.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries.
I move to reverse the board's July 15th, 2021 decision to terminate Rachel Damiano's employment as a probationary administrator.
Second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Tanya, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Board Chair Nelson,
No?
Member Richardson,
Yes.
Member Brownell,
No.
Member Neville,
Yes.
Member De La Grange,
No.
Member Wilkins,
Yes.
Member Coleman.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries, and we will adjourn our meeting. Thank you very much for your attendance.